Lizzie here from Investors in Learning. Thank you for joining me. Now, following on from the last video, which was all about the cost of inaction and maybe the chance that we may not be taking action, even more so not doing our lessons learned, not being open to learning, even more so than we may otherwise be because of the threat and the uncertainty around us. So giving that as food for thought, I wanted to follow up with a question around high performance and the importance of taking action. So taking action to develop and maintain high performance. That is the topic here. The importance of taking action to maintain and develop, or develop and maintain, however you want to see those two variables interrelating. But being very mindful that if we do not take action, this comes at a cost. And maybe it's even more important now to be really mindful of that because of the uncertainty around us. So the more we create certainty within ourselves and our organizations, the more we will be prepared to tackle the uncertainties around us. It's like a counterbalance to the uncertainties. So I'm going to look at what is high performance generally, reminding us that actually the definition of high performance and whatever we do is different now. 2020, everything is different now. We've got to take a new lens and a new context. So therefore there's different variables and different factors that we need to consider. What does that mean for me as a leader? How does that affect me? How do I now have to deal with things? The cost of inaction, which I already touched upon, and then the cost of not planning to future-proof your organization or your business. That is the container of what I want to share with you in this video. So first of all, let's look at high performance. A high performing organization, a high performing business never comes by chance. It only ever comes by design. You have to design it, you have to be intentional about it, you have to plan it. And you know what? We know how to. It's not a secret. So I wanted to just give us a frame of reference around what is high performance. So if we are planning with intent to design a high performing learning culture, a high performing organization, we need to bear in mind, what does that actually mean? And I think it's quite useful to do that around the famous normal distribution curve. Now, as we know, the normal distribution curve is around the idea and the basis and the foundation that everything sits around the average or the mean. So we have the majority of people in the middle around whatever you're measuring, whether it's shoe size or performance. So you have the minority who are very, very low, either small shoe size or low performance. You have the minority that are very high performance or large shoe size. And that is the basis of it. So of course you may be in a particular population where you have what's called a skewed distribution. You might have a skewed distribution, so there's more people, above average people in that particular population that are high performers, or you might have a below average population that are low performers or small shoes, so of course that happens. But on the whole, statistically, when we do any statistical significance testing in any scientific paradigm with statistical tables, we use the normal distribution curve. So in an organization, the chances are the majority of people will be average, the minority will be high performers. So the message here is around high performance. We are aiming for this part of the curve. So high performance needs to be designed. High performance will not come by chance, because if you leave it to chance, you're far more likely to hit this bit because there's far more people there. So leaving it to chance is a very high risk strategy. And we need to really get a reality check that we have to design high performance. We cannot leave it to chance. And as I said in another video, yes, if you leave it to chance, what does happen is that you may have high performance. You will have pockets of high performance. You will have pockets where just by chance you have extraordinary individuals who are feeding your system, who are propping people up. This is extraordinary. This is ordinary. And these extraordinary individuals may be performing really highly and really serving your business well. But that's by chance. So the question you've got to ask yourself is, do you want to leave it to chance that you will have those extraordinary individuals who will continually feed your business? And what happens if they burn out or if they leave? and then you have no foundational structure, no plan, no strategy, no actual culture design in place. So my big message to you is, if you expect high performance, then you have to design it. Ask yourself the question, do you expect high performance to happen in your organization? If the answer to that is yes, please get the reality check. Don't expect it if you're not designing it. So we're designing something around this part of the curve. So the high performance part of the curve, which means we have to have deliberate, intentional strategies, and we've got to keep on monitoring ourselves, because our brains, as I've said a number of times, are patterning machines. We seek patterns that we can then hold on to, and this is one of the reasons that actually our brain sometimes works against us rather than for us, because if you want to stay here, first of all, get here, but then also stay here, means that you have to be consciously aware of your patterns, and then you have to challenge them, monitor them, so that you don't slip into this, or maybe even slip into this. So we have to have patterns and conscious intentional strategies to get here in the first place, and then we need to have conscious intentional strategies to stay here, because the chances are our patterns, our habits that are not the healthy success habits, will slip us back here. So what we need to do is consciously develop healthy success habits that get us here and keep us here. We need to do that as individuals, as teams, and as whole organizations, but it's got to start with yourself. Because if you don't know what those habits are, if you don't know what the criteria are that you need to look for, which is why we've created a driving success framework, which helps people to look at the factors of high performance and what you need to look for. If you don't consciously address those, you will not get there. So that is really the importance of really having clarity and logic. But once you've got those criteria and you understand them with your logic, you need to then address your emotional responses to them, because it might be that your emotional responses are to push them away. Oh, it's just too overwhelming. Change is difficult, all that stuff, because emotionally, obviously, you may have fear that will stop you from engaging in any change. That's all part of change and learning. The point is, this is not an easy place to be, because you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone, and not just yourself, but if you have a team, we have to constantly push ourselves out of our comfort zone. And now, in this time of stress, change and uncertainty, this is the point that I made earlier about it's 2020. What does this mean for me as a leader? Now, for you as a leader, in my bold and honest and warm opinion, I'm trying to be warm to you in the sense that we're all in different places in that realization, but you as a leader need to really look at the situation and say, what responsibility have I got to make sure that I understand the psychological factors that are impacting on my people and on me? Because 2020, everything is different now. It is different, it's not the same. So to get to this place in 2020 is a different challenge. Yes, we are the same human beings, but we have layered up upon it a new time that none of us have ever experienced before. The stress and the strains, and we should never take for granted what some people are going through. And we don't know what other people are going through. So what we do all know is that we're all going through massive changes, but some people are obviously going through higher level trauma than others. And we need to therefore, as leaders, acknowledge this, that high performance in our business is completely interrelated with mental health and well-being. And if your people are not mentally healthy, they will not be performing highly. The two are completely intertwined, which is why performance and learning are completely intertwined. If you aren't able to learn effectively, apply your lessons learned, which requires the psychological safety to do so, you will not perform highly either. Remember, this is a hard place to be. It's a hard place to get to in the first place, and then it's also very hard to stay there. It's like planning to have a six-pack and going to the gym. First of all, you've got to plan to get there and get that six-pack. But actually, some people say, you know what, I've achieved my fitness goal. Now maintaining it is actually even harder, because it's a long-term goal where it means I've got to have my success habits for life. That's really tough. Maybe, you realize now what you've entered yourself into, the contract. Now, staying there, maintenance is sometimes more difficult than getting there in the first place, because it's the long-term commitment. But I think we need to really address this question as leaders today. What is the cost of not future-proofing our organization? Not only are we in a new time, But we also have to really face and look at ourselves honestly and boldly and say, wow, I really need to look at things in a new light here, because there's so much more to learn. There are more factors I need to take into account as a leader now to make sure that we can get to this point, but also stay there. This is why I have developed a driving success framework, a driving success model, which underpins our needs analysis to develop high-performing continuous learning cultures. This learning culture is absolutely fundamental to long-term sustainable success, because it gives us the variables that we need to look at in order to achieve high performance from the human psychology point of view, and from research, and from understanding of organizational success studies, business success studies. But of course now, on top of that, we really need to focus on the human elements. Now, human elements sits in the center of our driving success model anyway, but that means that the human elements drive everything else and drive your success. However, now, with the uncertainty and the stress we have, we need to focus on more the understanding of well-being, mental health, the effects of trauma, and how that can impact on high performance. So it's even more important to consider the human element in order to make sure that you can get here and stay here. I just wanted to reach out to all of you and say, please, leaders, continue learning, be open to learning, be self-aware, check in, where am I? Am I open to learning? Am I really thirsty for the knowledge of how I can build high performance in my business? And do I put any of that into action? Do you? Ask yourself those questions. Are you the lead learner in your organization? Are you a learning leader? Please visit our website. We have a program specifically on creating learning leadership. All our programs are around developing that learning mindset, because without a learning mindset, without lessons learned processes, you're not going to develop that continuous improvement to be in the minority of high performers. And you're not going to develop that learning culture that is so intertwined and absolutely essential in order to be high performing throughout your organization. So I hope this has given you some food for thought. Thank you so much for listening. You know where I am. Please reach out, and I look forward to hearing from you, speaking to you, discussing things with you, and I wish you all the very best.